Questions 1 through 10 on the 2004 Grade 12 AMC 12B. At each basketball practice last week, Jenny made twice as many free throws as she made at the previous practice. At her fifth practice, she made 48 free throws. How many free throws did she make at her first practice? So we have first, second, third, fourth, and fifth practices, and each time she makes twice as many. So x, then 2x, then 4x, 8x, and then 16x free throws. At the fifth practice, she makes 48 free throws. So that means that 16x is equal to 48. And solving, we get x is equal to 3. And they're asking you how many free throws did she make at the first practice? Well, that's x, and x we calculated as having a value of 3. So she made 3 free throws at the first practice, and therefore, number 1, the answer is A. In the expression c multiplied by a to the power of b minus d, the values a, b, and c and d are 0, 1, 2, and 3, although not necessarily in that order. What is the maximum possible value of the result? Now, this expression is made maximum if what you're subtracting is made minimum. So if you're choosing from 0, 1, 2, and 3, the minimum would be d, so let's make d equal to 0. And therefore, we just have to now be concerned with c times a to the power of b. And very quickly, we can take the remaining 3 numbers and calculate all the possible variations of this, like that. 2 times 1 to the 3, 2 times 3 to the 1, and then finally 3 times 1 to the 2, and then 3 times 2 to the 1. So let's see what values we get. This is 8, this is 9, this is 2, this is 6, 3, and 6. So of these, the largest is 9. So number 2, the answer is D. If x and y are positive integers for which 2 to the power of x times 3 to the power of y is 1296, what is the value of x plus y? So 2 to the power of x, 3 to the power of y is 1296. We obviously have to factor this. And if you do, you're going to get 8, and 8 times 9 times 9, I think, like that. So now we just break it up. 2 to the power of 4 is 8, and then 9 times 9, well, that's 3 squared, 3 squared. So that's 3 to the power of 4. There you go. And therefore, these all match up now. X is 4 and y is 4. And they are interested in x plus y, so that would be 4 plus 4, which is 8. And therefore, number 3, the answer is A. An integer with 10 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 99 is to be chosen. If all choices are equally likely, what is the probability that at least one digit of x is a 7? So it's a probability question, so first we have to figure out the total to put in the denominator. Total number of integers between 10 and 99 inclusive is 90. Now we have to figure out for the numerator the condition, which is in this question the integer has to have at least 1 7 in it. Okay, we can quickly make a list of the ones that have a 7. So all the ones from 70 till 79, they will of course have a 7, right? And that's how many? That's 10 right there. And then all the ones where 7 is the second digit, but not 0, 7, because 0, 7 doesn't fall in that range. So can't use that one, but we can use 17, 27, 37, 47, and so on. All right, so let's see how many we get here. This will be, looks like 9. So the total is 10 plus 9. Yes or no? Is the total 10 plus 9? No. Why? Because 77 is in both lists. We overcounted that. So we have to subtract that, and therefore the total is 18. So 18 over 90 is our probability, and that reduces to 1 over 5. So number 4, the answer is B. On a trip from the United States to Canada, Isabella took D US dollars. At the border, she exchanged them all, receiving 10 Canadian dollars for every 7 US dollars. After spending 60 Canadian dollars, she had D Canadian dollars left. What is the sum of the digits of D? So the exchange rate that she received is 10 Canadian dollars to 7 US dollars. And when she does, she receives a certain amount of Canadian dollars. We don't know, so I'll just refer to that as X. And the initial amount of US dollars, they tell you, is D right here. So we now just cross multiply, and we'll get 10D is equal to 7X. And therefore X is 10D over 7. And this represents the amount of Canadian dollars she received when she exchanged her US dollars. And then she goes to Canada, and she spends $60 of that 10D over 7 Canadian dollars. And when she does, she has a total of D remaining. So this is the equation we now need to solve. So multiply through by 7, you get 10D minus 420 is equal to 7D. And then bring the 7D over, you get 3D is equal to 420. And therefore D is equal to 140. And they don't want D, they want the sum of the digits of D. No problem, sum of the digits are 1 plus 4 plus 0, which is 5. So number 5, the answer is 5, which is choice A. Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport is 8 miles southwest of downtown St. Paul and 10 miles southeast of downtown Minneapolis. Which of the following is closest to the number of miles between downtown St. Paul and downtown Minneapolis? So this is the diagram. Here is the airport right here, and St. Paul is over here, and Minneapolis is over here. And this is going to be 8, and this will be 10. And the fact that they're southwest and southeast means that these are 45-degree angles. And that's very helpful. And therefore, since this is just 90 and 90, this is also 45, this is 45, and this angle in here, therefore, is 90. So when we try to figure out the distance between those two cities, we are basically going to use Pythagoras. So that means the distance, I'll call it D, is going to be 10 squared plus 8 squared, D squared that is. So we have 100 plus 64, and that's 164, and therefore D will be the square root of 164, and that's approximately a little less than 13, so about 12.8. So the closest in the answer choices for number 6 will be A. A square has side lengths of 10, and a circle centered at one of its vertices has radius of 10. What is the area of the union of the regions enclosed by the square and the circle? So this is approximately what the diagram looks like. This is a square. Obviously it's got 10 as its sides, and that circle has a diameter of 20, a radius of 10. Now they want you to figure out this entire region, and that entire region, I'll just call it region, is the area of the square plus the area of the circle, but we have to subtract something. What do we subtract? We have to subtract this region right here because we double count that. So I will draw that as a quarter circle like that. And each of these should be pretty straightforward to figure out. The square, the area is 10 times 10. The circle is pi r squared. R in this case is 10. And the quarter circle is pi r squared divided by 4. So 10 times 10 is 100. pi 10 squared is 100 pi, and the circle divided by 4 would be 100 pi divided by 4, which is 25 pi. And this basically becomes 100 plus 75 pi. And therefore, number 7, the answer is B. A grocer makes a display of cans in which the top row has 1 can and each lower row has 2 more cans than the row above it. If the display contains 100 cans, how many rows does it contain? So in our row, we have a certain number of cans. So the first row, we've got 1 can. Second row, we have 2 more than that, so that's 3 cans. Third row, we have 2 more than that, 5 cans, and so on, right? So dot, 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 all the way we get down to the nth row, and this looks like it's 2n minus 1 in terms of the relationship between the number of the row number and the number of cans in that row. So they're basically telling us that when you add up the cans in all of our rows, 1 plus 3 plus 5, dot, 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 all the way till 2n minus 1, that sum is equal to 100. So they want you to figure out how many rows. So basically, what is the value of n? All right, many ways of doing this. I'll just show you my way. I've got 100, right? 1 plus 3 plus 5, dot, dot, dot. And then the second last one I'm going to add in, it'll be 2n minus 3. And then 2n minus 1, like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to group them. So I'm going to take the first guy and the last guy, 1 plus 2n minus 1. And then I'll take the second guy and the second last guy, 3 plus 2n minus 3, like that. And dot, dot, dot. We're not sure entirely how long this goes. So when you group them, you'll see you get 2n plus 2n, like that. It's going to be all 2n's. Now, how many 2n's do I have? Well, initially here, I had n terms, right? And then when I grouped them, I created n over 2 pairs. So each of these pairs, there's n over 2 of them. So since I added each pair, there's n over 2 times 2n. That's the sum. And therefore 100 looks like the 2's cancel and this becomes n squared, and therefore n is 10. So there are 10 rows in this particular question. So number 8, the answer is D. The point -3, 2 is rotated 90 degrees clockwise around the origin to point B. Point B is then reflected in the line y equals x to point C. What are the coordinates of point C? So initially you have the point -3, 2. So 1, 2, 3, -3, and then approximately 2 on the y-axis. So you're about here, -3, 2. And this is y, then this is the x-axis. And then what they do is they rotate this. So if you're drawing a line from the origin, you're going to go 90 degrees now. So you're going to go 90 degrees from here till somewhere here. All right? The important thing to remember is it's 90 degrees clockwise. Okay? So when you do rotate 90 degrees, you end up about there. And this is your 90 degree angle right there. Now where did I end up? I ended up at point B, but what's really important are the coordinates of point B. And that is 2, 3, right there. And then what they do is they take this line y equals x, which is essentially just straight through like that. That's y equals x. And they reflect this point B. So now point B comes over to the other side of that red line. So approximately it would be here. somewhere like that. It's not entirely 100%, but somewhere there. Now, what is the coordinates of that? Well, it's C. When you reflect it in the line y equals x, the numbers just switch. So instead of 2, 3, you get 3, 2, like that. And there you have it. So number 9, the answer is E. An annulus is the region between two concentric circles. The concentric circles in the figure have radii B and C, with B greater than C. Let OX be a radius of the larger circle. Let XZ be tangent to the smaller circle at Z, and let OI be the radius of the larger circle that contains Z. Let A equal AZ, D equal YZ, and E equal XY. What is the area of the annulus? So the area of the shaded region like that, which they're calling an annulus, is basically pi r squared, the big circle, minus pi small r squared. And the values for the radii they give you, the big radius is from here to here, and that's B. So that's B squared. And then the smaller circle, the radius is there. It's C. So that's pi C squared. So this basically just becomes pi B squared minus C squared if you factor out the pi. Now, none of the answer choices are like that, right? So obviously we have to do something else. And that's where this triangle comes in. That triangle is a right triangle. How do we know that? Well, because this is a tangent line, and they tell you that XZ is tangent. So from that triangle, using Pythagoras, C squared plus A squared is equal to B squared. And therefore, if you isolate for A squared, you get B squared minus C squared. And then all you have to do now is substitute that over there. And instead of B squared minus C squared, you put in A squared. And there you have it. That matches up with one of the answer choices. And that answer choice is A for number 10.